What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2018 Innovation Award winner handed out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, hollering out at you on February 9th. And I am blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Very happy. We haven't done this for a while, but we're going to be back to back. I am very blessed to have this young gentleman with me hosting some epic conversations, Mr. Kinte Fergerson from down south, as they call it. And when we do conversations together, it goes under the title Black Man from North of the 49th and Black Man from South of the 49th. And for people who don't know what the 49th is all about, Canada and the United States are divided by the 49th parallel. So that's how we came about it. Mr. Kinte, what is going on?
Man, I'm doing wonderful. I'm glad to be alive. I feel blessed and highly flavored. And I'm just happy to be here. And I always love to chop it up with you, brother.
Yeah, big time. And you know what? Share a little about yourself and what you do. And I'm loving all the people that are jumping on.
Yes. Well, I'm a podcaster, filmmaker, a rowdy person. I have strong opinions, and I'm not afraid to share them. I'm a lover of humanity, and also I am a God-fearing man. So I am very happy to be here with you, and this is a great topic.
Oh yeah. This, and I know we're broadcasting live on February 9th. And I know most people are watching the Oscars, and I can understand why, but for people of color, this is where you should be tonight. Just saying. I'm just saying. I'd like to shout out.
Oscars are boring. Let's just
keep it real. I want to shout out to Maya, D, and Ryan. And the room spaces are open on that thing they call Get Vocal. And I also want to shout out on YouTube Audia. Thank you so much for jumping in. We have another light conversation topic. Myself and Kinte, we're known to take on the light topics. All the people are jumping on tonight. Hey, Crystal. Hey, man, what's going on? Thank you for jumping on. Okay, let's get to it.
Yes.
Unfortunately, is it 2 weeks ago today?
Yeah.
I believe so, right?
Yeah. 2 weeks ago. Weeks? Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks ago today. Unfortunately, we lost Kobe Bryant.
Right.
And people are still sad about it. And I think I heard that they're going to have a memorial on the 24th of February at the Staples Center.
Yeah, 24th, yeah.
I think that. And there were rumors that they were thinking about having it at the LA Coliseum where USC plays, because even that may be so rammed, but who knows?
Can I say something about?
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
I am not a big celebrity loving, like how some people are just like all into celebrity and all of that. And that's not me, right? I like, you know what I mean? I'm really into more activists and people who really affect change in that way. But don't get me wrong. I have people that I like who are famous, who are in the celebrity realm, right? And athletes and stuff. Kobe, and I want to put this into perspective from someone who's from Los Angeles, who was 19 when he was 17, right. A lifelong Laker fan who, when he was 17, I actually met him at the mall. Oh, wow. I met Kobe at the mall. This is before he was, he had blew up or whatever. Kobe to people in LA is like a child, like a son, right?
Yep.
And we watched him grow up. Like his life basically mirrored mine as far as the years, right? Not as far as the money, but just the years, right?
Right.
And we've gone through a lot of stuff with Kobe, right? So, like, some of my greatest moments that's not, family type stuff was through Kobe, like the wins, the losses, all that kind of stuff. So Kobe means a lot to us. He's like a family member. right?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I've criticized him for decisions he's made, things he said, that kind of stuff. So it's not, it hasn't, I ain't gonna sit here and act like I always was on board with everything he's doing, right? So when I got the news that Kobe was, had died, at first I'm like, I thought it was like a joke or something. And then
Mm-hmm.
when I saw that it was real, I was like, I mean, it was like a gut punch, especially the way it happened. And I'm not a very emotional person. I don't cry like when celebrities die and all that kind of stuff. Um, Gil Scott Heron died. That was very emotional for me because he means so much to me. Um, but when I found out that his daughter was on the helicopter and perished with him, that messed me up. And I was driving too. I had to pull over, and
Wow.
I mean, I sat there and I cried like a baby, you know, because just to think, I don't have any children,
Mm-hmm.
but I have a protector's mentality, and I know because I've been around a lot of great fathers who spend their whole time wanting to protect their kids, especially your
Right.
your, your little girl, right? You know, and just to think that like someone who how he felt about his daughters, especially that daughter, and that he couldn't protect her, that was like an emotional thing, right? So I think, and then you find out about the other people that were on, and and they were wonderful people, it seemed like, as well, and there was other children on there. That thing was so tragic. So I think I wanted to start off by putting it in that context when we have this discussion tonight. Okay, so there we go.
No, no, no. That's great. And so want to welcome some of the people who have jumped on. Hey, welcome Anthony. Welcome Dr. Tachi. Always got to shout out Dr. Tachi, who hosts like the livest conversation about media, tech, and pop culture. It's called Mediascope on most Wednesday evenings, 5 p.m. Eastern time on Instagram Live, and then at 6 p.m. Eastern time on Facebook Live and Periscope. Also want to shout out to Luke. Long time Luke have not heard my man from north of the border. So we have two fellow Canucks on the
Can,
conversation. I want to shout out to Bobby. Thanks also for dropping by.
can I say
And
one
Dr.
thing about Dr. Tachi real quick?
Pardon me?
Can I say one thing about Dr. Tachi real quick?
You can say as much as you want about Dr. Tachi. As long as it's good, I'll come down there and
I
cook.
love Dr. Tachi. Dr. Tachi knows.
Okay.
I don't think there's a bigger fan of Dr. Tachi. Maybe me and you can arm wrestle for that.
We will.
But I'm a speak into existence. I'm one of the few brothers who can't dance. And Dr. Tachi, I'm a speak into existence. She's gonna be my dance teacher. So whenever I
Oh
so
my.
I'm gonna get her. She's gonna make me be able to boogie like I should. So so I'm gonna keep saying it until it happens. So Dr.
Oh,
Tachi's gonna.
yeah.
Hey, look, you're gonna have to just give in and just start. So I'm just gonna say it until it happens. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Well, and one of the many wonderful things that Dr. Tachi does, she does documentaries. She's a choreographer,
Mhm.
dancer. So we'll have to get that video some way somehow. Hey, welcome Leah.
Is that
Also,
Leah?
like thanks. Not no, not. There's two
Oh,
Leahs.
okay.
There's a Leah over in Armenia, and this is the other Leah. So thank you.
Oh,
We
wow.
got to get that differentiated. So thank you, everybody. I know everyone could be watching the Oscars tonight, but I'm glad that people are here. And Dr. Tachi, I'm going to talk about that question too. In regard, let's get to it right now because there's other stuff with, you know, Snoop, Gayle King, Oprah. So let's stay on the Kobe thing. And she has a question saying, why do you think this affected so many men the way it affected you? And it's interesting you mentioned that, and I'll pass it back to you,
Mhm.
Kinte, in just a second. One of the things I really remember about this after reaction, did anyone catch Shaq interviewed on TNT?
Mhm.
Oh, wow. Like
Yeah.
that, like if you haven't seen Shaq talking about it on the NBA on TNT when he was with Kenny Smith, Charles Barkley, and Ernie Johnson, please check that interview. And like that, and I thought watching that, I was concerned for Shaq. That's how deeply it hit me because
Yeah.
I'm going that he's lost his grandparents, he's lost his sister recently, and like I was that's how deeply that hit me. I'm just saying, like I thought Shaq was gonna have a breakdown. I really thought he was like the tears were coming down, and it's interesting. Many men have taken this really hard, especially men who like grew up with Kobe in the same sort of age group. They're like
Right.
really
Yeah.
taking this hard.
Yeah.
So, one other thing before we get on Bobby, I hope your son's doing well too. So, Kinte, have you seen other men taking this loss hard?
Yes. Yes. You know, I'm talking about hardcore cats that I know. Like, you know, I've seen gangsters crying. You know what I mean? Like, especially that day, and people were calling me because everybody knows I'm a big Laker fan. So I got calls from all over the country. Like I mean, I've seen people who I never seen cry before cry that day. You know, and I was seeing strangers like all day, and you could just tell, like, you would see somebody and you could just see that they had been crying. You know what I mean? It was something else, man. It was, and it's funny because it made you emotional, probably more so than you would be, you know, just seeing other people take it the way they did. You know, there was a child in a grocery store that was upset, like a little child, you know, and yeah, it was, you know, it was pretty devastating. Yeah.
Yeah. I got some comments here. Lucas saying, I don't like to see a guy that tough, that upset. Leah, thank you, saying, oh, Tia, Chachi's going, Dr. Chachi's going, Oscars, rubbish. Anthony Davis is going, I heard that the helicopter crash that Kobe was on has caused the FAA to look at stricter safety measures when it comes to helicopters. What else? Ryan is saying, I cried for Prince and Michael.
Right.
And you know what? It's also interesting. I had heard, now reports are saying that the helicopter was 100 feet away from being clear from hitting the mountain.
I know. Yeah, I saw that.
100 feet.
Yeah, it could have made it. Yeah, it's horrible, man.
But yeah, Dr. Touch, I know a lot. I haven't seen someone passing away cause so much global in a long time, and especially globally for men, especially men that I would say between 30, maybe 25 to 40, very much, and all different backgrounds.
Right. Like here in LA, like the Mexicans love Kobe here, like for real. Like they're the ones, they more gangster about Kobe. You say something about Kobe than anybody, you know. So, like he has a huge Mexican fan base here, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Didn't know.
Yeah.
Didn't know.
They love it, man.
Yeah, the Mamba. The Mamba. So, and again, we've got 2 spots open here. We're broadcasting live on the Get Vocal platform. If anyone wants to jump in, there is space. I'm speaking at someone will jump in, or at least keep the comments going. So we won't go too much into the past way. I don't think, actually, it's interesting. Oh, Ryan's going to jump in.
Ryan.
Hey, Ryan, what's going on? How you doing?
Everything is awesome. How's it going with you, Dr. Vibe?
You know what, Ryan? You should replace the Dos Equis, man. That's Ryan's the most interesting man in the world.
Say that one more time.
You should replace the Dos Equis guy. You're the most interesting man in the world. Ryan be giving it up, man. I want to be like Ryan when I grow up.
Ryan, where were you and how did you take the news of Kobe Bryant's passing?
I was on my phone. I was just laying on the couch, and because you know I have I do media, I have a media, like Hustle's old media company, so I'm constantly looking for content, and that just started. I just saw it on my Instagram feed, and I took it hard because it was like, I'm not a basketball fan, but I just know that it is just really hard for Black men to have leaders that live longer than 30, 35, 40. We are just losing a lot of our Black leaders, and it's a shame. And I don't want to come from like a scarcity mentality that we can't be leaders ourselves, but it's just really hard to hear stories like this, because being a father and I can't even talk. Being a father and then being with your child and having that all go down, words can't describe how that would make a person feel if they were inside that helicopter. It's terrible. It's just terrible.
Thank you for that, man. And want to shout out to Steph. Hope you're doing fine, Steph. Good to have you on. Steph is saying, well, I'll get to Steph before there's another comment here. On the YouTube side, Divine Right is saying, the accident truly messed me up. It's a domino effect. Beautiful lives lost, and so many are impacted by this tragedy. My prayers are all with all of the families and loved ones. Now, getting back to Steph. Steph is saying, I never cared for Kobe Bryant. I feel like the rape accusation is a part of his legacy, but right now isn't really the time to discuss it. We're going to get to that. Anthony Davis, devil's advocate question. Kirk Douglas passed recently. No one seemed to be affected by his death as the death of Kobe. Why do you think that is? I can take an answer to that, but you, Jem, want to talk on that?
He's 103. Yeah, there you go. He's 103. He lived a great life. It's like he didn't die in the twilight of his life, he died in the twilight of his life. My bad.
Yeah.
In his prime. Yeah. So, 103. That means you lived a good one. You had a good run. So
absolutely.
I would say,
go ahead.
Like, rest in peace, Kirk Douglas. But I don't identify with him. I identify with Kobe. It's just that, when there's certain people live certain lives, and, we all watch Kobe as he rose to fame, and we've watched him over the years. Like, I connect with him differently than I would a Kirk Douglas. But, death is death, and I don't like to wish that upon anybody. But, it's just, I don't identify with certain celebrities. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Want to welcome on the conversation.
What was he in, like Ben-Hur or something, right?
No, it was Spartacus.
Spartacus. I knew it was one of those.
Spartacus, no problem. I want welcome MT on the Get Vocal platform. So let's transition to what's been going on over the last week. So maybe you haven't been around, or maybe you're paying more attention to the impeachment hearings than this. But this has been entertaining also. So let me do a little background. So this has all happened within a week.
Mm-hmm.
Gayle King, everyone knows Gayle King, Oprah buddy, etc., had an interview on CBS This Morning, where Gayle King is the host of the CBS This Morning news information program, interviewed Miss Lisa Leslie.
Right.
Lisa Leslie was a good friend of Kobe Bryant.
And a wonderful basketball player.
Yes.
One of the best.
And during the conversation, she brought up Kobe Bryant's rape case.
Right.
So then all of a sudden, Twitter went ballistic on Gayle King, saying, like, why is she bringing this up? The man hasn't even been buried yet, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Then Gayle's good friend, Oprah Winfrey, came on the Today Show. I don't know if it was Thursday or Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
The NBC one,
yeah, and she was saying, quote, Gayle is not doing well, unquote, amid the backlash she has received over her recent interview with Lisa Leslie.
Right.
And then apparently some guy named Snoop Dogg got involved.
Right.
and Snoop Dogg came on, I think it was Instagram, saying he was pushing back against Gayle King and Oprah, asking about the rape allegation against Kobe Bryant, and also saying that, you know what? How come your good friend or Mr. Harvey Weinstein, you never examined him?
Right.
and saying, interesting, like, why are you, Oprah and Gail, always doing examinations of black men who have been accused, rightly or wrongly, of sexual bad acts, but you're not doing anything about white men? And also during that media post, Instagram post, uh, she was Snoop also like said, was had full support for Bill Cosby. Then Bill Cosby's Twitter account, I think, Snoop Dogg for calling for his freedom. Then we got a heavy hitter involved, Susan Rice, the former ambassador to the United Nations for the U.S., who also served as a national security advisor under Barack Obama, took to Twitter Friday night saying, quote, Snoop, back the F off. You come for Gayle King, you come against an army. You will lose and it won't be pretty, unquote. Now, I think today or late yesterday, Snoop clarified his original statement, but it still seemed that he wasn't fully retracting it. Now, I already see through the Twitter comments, before we get this thing going, Luke is saying, I missed the whole Gayle thing. Tati said I had a good conversation about this. Tati saying Snoop should concentrate on music. So Steph is saying Snoop Dogg is nobody's moral authority. His art and his personal life are definitely in question. Dr. Tati is saying exactly, Stephanie. And then Steph just had a child outside of his marriage. So we're going to break this down a little bit. So let's take it piece by piece. First of all, for those of you that saw the Gayle King interview, what are your thoughts? Ryan, Kinte, people in the comments, was Gayle right to bring up the rape allegation case to Lisa Leslie at that time?
You want to go ahead first, Ryan? Because I have a lot to say about
it. Doing my own show, and when I originally started Hustle Zone, I jarring questions, and a lot of people revealed a lot of information that they wouldn't normally reveal on any of the other podcasts that I was on. And I would ask those hard questions. They weren't hard questions, they were just questions. I think Gayle is I have two sides to this, but Gayle is a journalist, and journalists are supposed to be unbiased. And Gayle was not. It was just a soundbite. There was, obviously she had a balanced conversation. It's just that, the networks knew what they were doing and they put that out there to get a reaction. So I think that, she's a journalist. Like, that's what we should expect of journalists. She is one of the best journalists alive, I think, and
Gayle King?
Gayle King. Yeah, she's one of. Like, I didn't say she's the best. I said she is. She is. She is known for. She just has the experience of being a journalist. So obviously she's going to do things in a certain way. But do I agree? Like, maybe she should have been an advocate for our community. I think yes, she should have been an advocate for our community and not ask that question, because we constantly have people disregarding black men on in the media all the time, and I just felt a certain way. But I do respect her journalism. I do respect what she has to do. That's her job.
Okay, before we go any further, a few things. Welcome to Dre. Welcome aboard. Dr. Tatch is with us. She's not camera ready, but she's in the room. Also, one thing I did forget to share throughout in the introduction of getting into the deep conversation here, Gayle King also did an Instagram live video this week saying, I'm sorry, this and that. And she seemed to, she seemed to blame her production team in regards to that piece of the conversation, which is very interesting, because I'm not getting too involved in this, because I'm a content producer. I look at what I put out before I put it out. So I find it very interesting that she is pushing back and putting the blame on her CBS or the production team and not whether good or bad the reaction. I'd like to I'm about that, but that's just me. So what I'm going to do is before I know Dr. Tachi wants to speak because we would like to have ladies first. Also, Steph is saying, I thought what she did was in poor taste, but it's typical as a journalist, which is a job that I can be polarizing. And then the social Steph also says, I guess I don't understand why I'm suspect to Kate for an accused rapist. Why, as a black woman, I supposed to support all the, I won't report the effery that certain black men do because I'm black. Anthony Davis, sound bites are just that, are sound bites. You can put them into any context you want to and can even be warped to however the individuals want to skew them. Sometimes you have to hear everything in context when it comes to sound bites. And then Social Steph says, as someone who was raped and not believed, I take issue. Now, Dr. Chachi, are you with us?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, and always want to have your valued opinion.
Well, I really wanted Kinte to go for next because this is the men's space. I just thought because I just had a conversation about
space for all of us. No, it's space for all of us. A men and women's conversation.
You know so
that's why I go to the queens first. So, do you want Kinte to go ahead, or do you want
you one of the guys?
Thank you. You're very kind. Well,
yeah. Oh boy, no dancing lessons. Bye.
So I apologize for the no camera, but it's not hooked up. So so here's the thing. I think people have to put this whole thing in context. With Gayle King and being a journalist, as Stephanie mentioned, there is immense pressure from above, from your network, to ask the hard-hitting questions, to get in there and do a killer interview. She's had such success because of the way she did the interview with R. Kelly. Kelly. Yeah, they are expecting, we need another hit, like she's a singer-songwriter. We need another hit. So I think there's immense pressure there. Number two, I think she's also putting immense pressure on herself to represent and to do this well because of the successes she's had in interviewing, but particularly because of the popularity of her interview with R. Kelly. So that's one thing. Did she do anything wrong according to the network standards? Probably not. I don't know their code of conduct there. I don't think she did anything wrong. What she did was in poor taste. Now, I don't know if anybody saw the entire interview or read the transcript. I actually have the transcript here. And in the transcript, her question was, it's been said that his legacy is complicated because of a sexual assault charge, which was dismissed in 2003, 2004. Is it complicated for you as a woman, as a WNBA player? Now, that type of question is fair. That's not what she's saying. She's putting out there that the conversation around this has also involved, because before this interview even happened, Felicia Sonmez from the Washington Post had retweeted an article about that case, okay? And she suffered a lot of abuse because of that as well. The problem with her is she did it 2 hours after the accident happened, and that was in poor taste, definitely. So now some time has passed. About a week has passed, and now we're starting to look and examine at his life. I do agree. You have to look at a public figure in totality. 2 hours after the fact is not the time to do that. So moving on, she asked this question, and Lisa Leslie answers it. It's fair to ask this question, and anybody who's saying it, just like Stephanie is saying, sometimes I'm not even going to say sometimes, all the time, we protect our community, meaning the Black community, to a fault, regardless of what wrong is done, because of the persecution we tend to face in society, particularly American society. We feel this need to protect, okay? And then we hold Black women to a higher standard that regardless of what happens, you need to protect Black men at all costs. It doesn't matter if they're wrong. Your job is to protect them. And what Gail did not do is protect a Black man. And so she broke code. So I think this is one of the big things. Now, she was in poor taste. She was wrong for not asking the initial question. Going back to the transcript, when Lisa Leslie says That's not the person I know in terms of Kobe and the sexual assault. She says, Gail says, but Lisa, you wouldn't see it though. As his friend, you wouldn't see it. And Lisa says to her, and that's possible. So she admits, I don't necessarily know Kobe in that way. What I know is, that she may not have seen it. She doesn't know. Where Gail went wrong is with this statement. Lisa Leslie says, it went to trial talking about the case. And Gail says this specifically. Yeah, well, the case was dismissed because the victim in the case refused to testify, so it was dismissed. And Lisa Leslie says, and that's how we should leave it. She took it too far when she was talking about the case being dismissed. You were fair in asking the other questions. I think that the other thing that Gail could have done, and I'm about to wrap this up, I just had to put out all these points. I think the other thing that Gail could have done is to not make it as if the inquiry was coming from her. So even if you said, but Lisa, you wouldn't see it though, she should have asked it like, there are some people who would say that because you are his friend, you are immune or blind to it. How would you respond? That way, it's not coming from Gail. She is putting out the discourse that is around this. That's what journalists do. They bring up these questions and talk about the discourse that's happening, not that they themselves as journalists are talking about it. So my final point about this is this. Snoop Dogg, sit down and shut up. 50 Cent, sit down and shut up. Any of you other fools who are not journalists, have nothing to do with this, sit down and shut up. Because the same protection that you are asking Black women to give you, you are totally not giving to this Black woman. Yes, she did something wrong. What you need to do is pull her to the side. Gail, we have a code now. Let me tell you what you did wrong. And not denigrate her in the public eye the way you feel you've been done. So that's all I wanted to say.
Wonderful as always.
I love you, Toxie, but I am going to 100% disagree with everything you said.
Okay, stay on now. Okay, stay on. Go ahead, Kinte.
Now, anybody who knows me knows not only do I love Black folks, I love Black women. That's not even a question. And I am not a fan of Oprah or Gail. Never been. And you being a journalist, okay, then ask Oprah about all those Black women that were raped in her school. Why ain't nobody asking her that? Ask Oprah about her spiritual advisor who was molesting people, that nobody asked her no questions about that. Ask about your homeboy, Harvey Weinstein, who, they all taking pictures lovey-dovey with this. A black woman said that Oprah helped Harvey Weinstein get her alone and all of that kind of stuff. Why can't we ask those questions too? Like, I mean, if we want to be journalists,
because that's not the conversation right now. It's the same thing.
Conversation.
That's not the conversation.
Why people feel the way they do,
because that's not the conversation. That's why we muddy the waters. I apologize for interrupting you, but we muddy the waters when we don't stick to it's the same thing. Okay, with Bill Cosby,
I know how to. I know I'm not muddying any waters. The question is, why do people feel the way that they feel? Because they feel like there's a bias specifically with those two women, Oprah and Gail, that they got nothing to say about other situations. But this, all of a sudden, it's like, well, don't we got to look at his legacy and all of this kind of stuff? And to be honest with you, yeah, it was in poor taste. It wasn't taken out of context. This was, this is what it was. Now, Snoop Dogg obviously is not. Snoop Dogg is not a person I would say should be our representative, in these kind of things, as well as 50 Cent. Because I can go on and on about 50 Cent and Snoop Dogg about other things as well. But what I'm saying is, I'm glad that the backlash happened, because I feel like for so long they've had a free pass doing all kind of effery. I'm not going to say the word, that nobody's ever really called them out for it.
And see, I disagree. I disagree. I think they're also held to a higher standard because they are Black journalists.
That is not
so
true.
I do.
That is
Okay.
not true.
And so let me go back. I wasn't saying that you were not intelligent and you don't know about muddying the waters. That was not what I was saying. I'm just saying this is how we tend to muddy the waters when we mix situations. And then I was about to bring up something. They have not been given a free pass to do things. As a journalist, I'm speaking as a journalist who is understanding this. Gail was wrong for taking it beyond the fact that where it needed to be taken. Absolutely. That was self-serving at that point. But she's not wrong for asking the question. So that's like saying if you're a Black journalist, you can't ask any hard-hitting questions. Even if the conversation was out there, the conversation was already raised. So I think it's disingenuous to say, well, when you're a Black journalist, there's only certain questions you can answer. No, they are journalists. And so I think they have every right to ask those questions. But it's the way you ask them. Again, not coming from you, but bringing it up. Okay, this is out there. Let's not play around. How do you respond to it? Because that conversation is going to come up. And I hate that we as Black journalists are always expected to coddle that you don't hold the other journalists to the same standard.
Anybody who knows me, anyone
not you,
look, I'm harder on the white folks than I am Black people.
Okay, but that's you. That's you.
So
the overwhelming there are many people that will hold Black journalists to a higher standard, and I understand why. I know where it comes from.
We're all equal. If we're all equal, and everything's the same, why can't she get criticism too?
She absolutely can, but does she need death threats? This is what I'm saying. She does.
Can I interrupt?
Death threat. Wait, I'm glad she brought it. Let me address the death threat part. Ain't nobody gonna assassinate Gayle King. Let's stop. Ain't nobody she ain't Tupac. They ain't about to shoot her coming out of the club. So she's gonna be fine. Ain't nobody
can't say that unequivocally.
I can say it unequivocally. I feel really good about that.
You cannot. If you can show me sources, then yes. No, you know what? No. This is the world we're living in is hypersensitive. It's hyper gun filled. There are people that are at a hair trigger responses. That could possibly happen, and you have to take, especially now, journalists being under siege, and you have an administration that basically goes after journalists. You think you don't have a trickle down effect from that? So absolutely, she could be in danger, and I think it's not wise to belittle the fact that it could be in danger. Death threats are nothing to play with. Even if it ends up being nothing, it's nothing to play with. So my thing is, it doesn't have to go to that point. I almost expect Twitter to do those types of things because so many people there are not thinking critically, but it shouldn't come to that point. And what we don't need is public figures like Snoop, like 50 Cent, fueling that. That's all I'm saying. So the same protection you want, you have to put that out there too.
But I think that like everyone's entitled to their opinion. And, when it comes to Black men, the one thing that is kind of fueling the anger is that, Oprah was coming out with that documentary about Russell Simmons. That was one thing. The other thing, Lonely Love, I think her name is, from The Real. She was, making statements that Black men cheat and, she wasn't really regarding. The problem is not about, Gayle King's questions. The problem is about Gayle King and Oprah canoodling with Harvey Weinstein and not giving them the same pressure that they are giving towards Black men. We also need to understand that we live in a society where there's white supremacy and there's racism, and the media has been used as a tool for all these years, and used as a tool against us. So, for the very little journalists that we have, sometimes we just feel, even for public figures like Oprah, to sometimes have our back. I'm not saying and condoning that rape is okay. But if the case was dropped and for whatever reason, leave it there. When a man dies, bring it up 2, 3, 4 weeks afterwards, but don't do it right there. And I don't think that Gayle King personally I don't think that it was her choice. I honestly think it was the editor's choice to put out that soundbite because they know what's going to cause a reaction. It's just
Correct.
that black men have been I think we've just been seeing a double standard with the Me Too movement when it comes to the men in our world, and then the men that are the majority, which are white men.
Okay, just a timeout. I'm just going to catch up with all the notes here on the side. Dre saying that's not being a journalist. She was leading her, so I believe he's saying Gayle King was leading Lisa Leslie in that interview. She didn't ask, would you have seen it? She said you wouldn't see it. Dre is saying as a question pool led Lisa by making it a statement. Let's see. Social Steph Kobe denigrated himself by sleeping with women outside of marriage. And Ryan says journalists have a code of conduct to tell the truth. I don't think that Gayle had any pressure from the top. Dre saying it's all about journalistic integrity. Dre saying Kinte's right on this one. You cannot target Kobe, then hide when things about them are uncovered. Social Steph saying Kobe wasn't targeted. He just died, and he's the topic of conversation right now. Dre saying the white NFL execs use the same argument. Let's see. Social Steph saying I gave respectful opinion about the situation on Facebook, and everyone attacked me in the comments were black men.
Yeah.
Dre saying the Russell Simmons thing is backed by evidence and victim testimony. Dre also says the Kobe allegation is different. Dre saying Gayle King has creative control. She has the power to say, I'm not saying that.
She doesn't have that much control. I'm sorry.
Right.
I think you all are putting her on a pedestal that she simply is not on.
Just before we go any further, let me just finish up and we'll get back to it. Rico, welcome, Rico. Long time no see. Rico saying there does appear to be some nepotism on the part of Oprah and Gayle, particularly towards black men. So Steph saying this conversation is literally making me want to throw up. Dre is saying she has enough clout. Ryan saying CBS took blame. It's on the record. Then just to go back to YouTube, because we got stuff flying there too. The Inspired Thoughts saying preach sister, which I believe is preach to Dr. Tachi. Kinte, we can go back, and she's saying the Inspired Thought is saying Kinte, we can go back and forth with wrong by both men all day. Stick to this one.
Who said that? Wait a minute, who said that?
Okay, hold on, let me finish. The Inspired Thought says it could happen. There are people who are looking for attention. They're 15 minutes of fame, so it's not to be taken lightly. And then Inspired Thought also says, but how many times have black male entertainers bashed women online? Okay, we're right up to date. Who wants to continue?
Me. I want to say something that I want you guys to understand where I'm coming from. It has nothing to do with them being the black women. It has nothing to do with, I put them in a coon category. Oprah and Gayle. The same I put Don Lemon and a bunch of others. It ain't about gender. I ain't about that. I love black people. So if they're males, and you guys heard me call out a bunch of Negroes, men. So my thing is, it's not about gender. I don't care about journalism or any of that. If they're not for us, F them. So what I'm saying is, I have no respect for them, as I don't have respect for Don Lemon. I can go down the list of Negroes I can't stand that are in the media, whether they're journalists, writers. I don't like that. What's that guy's name that they love? The liberals love. The one that wrote the Black Panther. They just love him. What's that Negro's name? He wrote the Black Panther comic book right before.
Tanisha Coates?
Yeah, I can't stand that Negro. And I can go on and on and on about him. So what I'm saying is this is a war between coons and black folks. and with some sense. So I don't put no gender or anything like that. I don't even look at it like that. That's how I feel about it. It's us against them. So what I'm saying is this: as Black people who, look, I've criticized Kobe. Kobe was very whitewashed. You look at his companies and stuff. There was hardly any Black people that worked there. All of that stuff. And like I said, I enjoyed him as a ball player and all of that stuff. And I feel for his family and what they're going through. But this is not even just about the Kobe thing. It's just the reason why I brought up the other stuff is because that's what it's about. It's not just about this particular issue for me and for a lot of people. And that's what I'm saying is it's us against them. Do I want Gayle King to get beat up or assassinated or anything like that? Of course not. Or anything like that. Of course I don't. But what I do feel like that we have to start calling out coonery and buffoonery in our community. Terry Crews, for example, we didn't get a chance to talk about that Negro. He's high on my list of Negroes I can't stand. So it's not about trashing a Black woman or anything like that. It's about those Black women I have issues with.
Kinte, and I know I feel you, and for you, that may be true. But there are some other people who they may not even be aware that they're doing it, and they actually are doing. For them, it does come down to gender. For some people, it really does. So not for you, but for some people, it does. And it just seems too often that misogyny becomes a part of this, and it doesn't have to. It doesn't need to get to that point. But again, I see where it comes from, because if you are in a society that is largely misogynistic, you start to mirror those, not you, but individuals start to mirror those things when they're examining different things. So what I'm saying is I think we can all agree is that there has been a lot of examination when it comes to Kobe Bryant of this 2003 rape case, alleged rape case that was unfounded in terms of it didn't need to happen 2 hours after the fact, a week after the fact. But I think you also have to know that it's going to come up. And since it does come up, journalists are going to ask, regardless of who it is, they're going to ask. I think it's the way you ask and the way it's dealt with. I think Gail was wrong for continuing on that trajectory. I don't think he led because she led. Lisa Leslie has very well media trained, and she's very capable of answering things in such a way that won't denigrate someone else. She didn't lead because what I need for people to do is, if you have not, go to CBS and read the entire transcript of it. That one clip is one part of the bigger thing, but from the way I read it, she didn't lead. She went wrong by then adding all that extra other stuff. That's all I'm saying.
Well, and you know what this reminds me of is when they talk about the cops killing people, they do this whole piece about it's the training and all of that. It ain't the training. They want to kill Black people. So what I'm saying is getting into the weeds of why she did it or this or that. No, I don't need to do all that. I know
but it's cut and dry for you. I'm sorry. It's cut and dry for you.
I know how they are. They're not for us. They against us. And they ain't against just Black men. They're against Black women too.
Okay. Kinte, we could, I guess, agree to disagree because we have very, I wouldn't say very different. I'm not saying they're 100% fine and upright. My point is that there's a way to deal with these types of things. She made a huge mistake with that last one. The response is wrong. That's not the way to get things to change. I'm sorry.
I don't know about the response being wrong, but I really feel like, I mean, it's wrong, like obviously death threats and all that, but I feel like something drastic needs to start happening to these coons so that they will stop. There's so many of them that's why I was so glad. We'll take it to Terry Crews. I was so glad that they came on his butt hard because that Negro's been getting away with BS and people just kind of shine him on. And I was so glad that they stayed in his booty. But
you know what? I'm sorry.
I feel like there's a list of Negroes that their day needs to come.
Terry Crews, though, again, there's certain people I don't expect very much from him because he's not the representative. So I'm like, all right, I don't expect very much from him. I think where it becomes an issue and where we have to examine these things critically, and I'm glad this conversation is happening, is when it comes to people that are tasked with speaking for Black communities, like Oprah and Gayle. Even though they're not really, because they're Black, they still speak for us.
I don't think that they speak for us at all.
I don't
speak for the white power structure.
No. I'm saying because they're Black, they do speak for the white power structure, but that's the structure that matters, Kinte. That's the structure that sets everything up. And so because they are Black, they then by default become representatives of Black America, whether you want it or not. So you can say they don't represent me, but you know what? Yes, they do.
Then Snoop represents me then, and I definitely
I personally don't see Gayle King any different from Diane Sawyer or Barbara Walters, because Barbara Walters has been known over the years to ask the hard questions. I don't think that there is a degree to how much questions you can ask. The person on the other side that's being interviewed has every right not to answer the questions. They can pivot. And, I don't think that the line of questioning was in poor taste. Mind you, I just want to bring it back to the double standards. It's the fact that she's not bringing, and this is because I've been looking at people's comments. I've been studying this. I've been going onto Twitter, been asking people. People are not talking about her line of questioning. People are not talking about her as a woman. People are not talking about, her standing up for women. I think that people are talking about the fact that she's not giving her Oprah and Black women that are in these power positions are not giving the same level of line of questioning to their white counterparts like Harvey Weinstein.
You mean scrutiny?
Yeah, scrutiny. They're not scrutinizing Harvey Weinstein because look what's happening with him. Like no one's talking about him, and why? And we see pictures of Gayle and Oprah, hanging out with Harvey. Like this is what's getting us angry. Because why is it that once women get I'm not trying to generalize here, but why is it when you get to a certain level in your life, where then everything just changes just because now that you have been welcomed into the major or the majority culture, that, your attitudes and everything changes. Now we're talking about Deepak Chopra, and I've manifested all of this success. There's a level, there's a degree where Black people, we inform mainstream culture. We are the ones that are putting people in these positions. It wasn't just manifesting. It was the fact that we support you. And then when you go and you stick the community rises up. And then when we make a noise, then everything gets shut down. Now Oprah's on the camera saying, oh my God, Gayle is not doing fine. Well, if she was doing fine, if she was so powerful, then obviously she should be fine because she did her job. But the reality is that she lives and she exists and she operates in the system of white supremacy. So, of course, even though she did not have any ill intent, maybe because we don't know, we can't prove it. There's a system that knew exactly what she, and again, I will reinforce that I do not believe that she had every right, because she's doing so much things. I think that they have a team. They put the clips, are going to generate a response. And, this is not just with CBS. This is with H&M. This is with Prada. Corporations are understanding that there are certain conversations, certain sound bites that cause motion, that cause people to go to the interview, that cause people to buy the Prada shirts with the blackface on it. They know how to trigger us because they know that when we even sense a little bit of racism or whatever, we all get angry. But the reality is that for us in the community, especially Black men, really feel that we need to petition Gail and Oprah and Lonely Love or whomever want to stand on their high horse to go after guys like Harvey Weinstein and all these pedophiles that are in Hollywood right now that have been, they have their pedophilia ring, call those guys out too. But, chances are they're probably paying for, probably the reason why Oprah and Gail are in the positions that they're in to begin with.
So Ryan, I hear what you're saying, but I think we have to be very careful in terms of what we say, because we don't know for sure what the truth is unequivocally. There seems to be a lot of conversation about Gail, Oprah, and like one other person. What about the multitudes of Black reporters, Black women, Black people that are actually taking up the charge to try and change things? And guess what? Just like white supremacy, the system of media that propagates these things is not able to be broken down overnight. For some reason, you're able to wait for change when it comes to white supremacy, but you want the walls of bad journalism to be broken down overnight. It doesn't work that way. Systems take time to be broken down because they took forever to be built up. And guess what? Every oppressor has collaborators. And because there are collaborators, that's even worse. So I think we are, when you constantly look at the people that are quote unquote not doing what they're supposed to do for the community, we're discounting everybody who is. And there are awesome journalists who are out there. And see, what I don't like is when people say the media. As somebody who has been the media for most of my adult life, it's media outlets. I don't like the entire media being lumped together. What we're seeing is major media outlets that have the pull doing that. So we have to be more media literate. We have to understand there are different types of media and there are different conversations. Don't just go after the NBC, CBS, CNNs. There are others out there that are doing an amazing job with Black journalists and Black press, by the way, that are doing an amazing job of dissecting this. So I want us to stop making generalizations.
Tachi, can I?
I'm back now. No, but Dre, you can come in now because Ryan jumped out.
Can I say something?
Greetings. I want to say greetings for Happy Work Week. And I'm just going to catch up on some conversations here quickly. Ryan is saying Oprah and Gail are at the top. They have the most influence. So Steph is saying, I love Black men, but I never felt loved or protected by any one of them. So you keep saying our men, but it goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Crystal saying the media downgrade our men, period, after death. That's how the system is built. It's sick. Maya saying the response is due to her track record on issues like this and addressing the rape case. And she says in capitals, all media that brought it up, it's downright disrespectful. Disrespectful is in capital letters. The man wasn't dead 24 hours before the media started going in on his rape case being part of his legacy.
Indeed.
I think I'm pretty well. That's just on Get Vocal. Let me catch up. Trey, I'll get you on in just a minute because there's comments on YouTube here. So that's why. Okay. You Foresight is saying, I would sue the network for one and a whole pile of zeros. If anything else, they should learn their lesson, both in dollars and cents. He also says, but also amount to show that even though you're Oprah's friend, there are limits on what you can and cannot say or ask. He also says, and it had been a more tasteful interview because it looks like she ambushed when I can't remember. I can't understand that. But then Aspire Fought says these brands know the Black community is an easy target. Dre, thank you for your patience. You are here. Come on in, my brother.
Can I say something though before Tachi leaves? Tachi, like I said,
Tachi doesn't have to leave. Ryan kicked out. Tachi, you can still stay around. Go ahead.
What I'm going to say is, it's not about even what she said in the interview, right? Okay, yeah, you can argue about was it bad taste, or it's not even about Kobe. I feel like there are Black people within our community, and I've listed a bunch of them. I can continue this list, who actively work against us, and they're male and female. And I've put them on that list. And honestly, they get no protection from me. Okay, I don't care what they do. So them getting in trouble is a great thing for me, to me, because I can't stand them. So whether it's do I want somebody get shot or something like that? Of course not. But I'm so glad that they're catching hell because they deserve it. They deserve it. And I'm not protecting anybody. I don't protect black men when they're on that BS, and I'm not going to protect no black woman because to me they chose their path, and it isn't with us. And I always use before the Haitian Revolution, the first thing they did was they got rid of the coons before they started the revolution. That's all I'm going to say with that. You're on. Okay.
Ed.
All right. So I know it's very difficult for us to have conversations like this and remove personal experiences from the equation so that we can think of it without bias. Think
Right.
on like this without bias. It's very difficult. So I understand that. And I am only going to speak specifically about what Gail said in regards in the interview with Lisa Leslie as it pertains to Kobe Bryant. Okay, because I came in that part of the conversation, so I'm going to stick with that because I think you guys have amazing points. And Kinte, I see what you're saying. I do see what you're saying. I would never go as far as threatening somebody's life.
No, yeah,
but I do understand what you're saying. Okay. If you guys remember the situation when it happened, when it came out in 2000, right? Kobe's admission was that he committed adultery. It was consensual, and then he apologized. It made him look guilty, but he didn't apologize for raping her. Or he apologized for pretty much for the embarrassment that was happening to her at this particular moment. All right. All the accusations was dismissed because she didn't testify. All right. We have to look at what happens a lot with athletes or people of any stature, specifically if they're Black, African American, where a lot of times these accusations are made and they're forced to, I guess, attempt to try to fight it. And sometimes these accusations aren't true. Am I saying it's true or not? I just know that it was dismissed and that's what it was. Okay. That's all anybody knows. So for Gail to talk to Lisa Leslie right after her friend's passing, and I know Steph said that she shouldn't have been interviewed. The whole point of the interview was to talk about Kobe after his passing. So no matter if Lisa Leslie did it 2 hours after he died or 2 years after he died, she still would be distraught because she lost a friend. Okay? Period. The reason why they had the interview and had her in is to talk about that. When she mentioned about the and I'm not mad at her talking about how could it have tarnished his legacy. She didn't stop there. Right? When Lisa responded, when Lisa said, "That's not the Kobe I know," that's where it should have stopped. When she said that when we'd be out in clubs, he wasn't the type to try to get me to go and get girls for him. I know players like that, but he was not that person. It should have stopped. When Gail led and sort of, led her like an attorney in a courtroom leading the witness, she said, but you wouldn't have noticed. Like, she didn't ask it in a way that it was like, well, would you have noticed it? To give her a chance to respond. All right. And that's my thing about that. You're a journalist. Don't lead it. Ask the questions and let the person you're interviewing answer. Period. I wasn't a Kobe fan. I'm not on here, trying to defend his legacy because he's Kobe Bryant and I was the biggest Laker fan ever. I wasn't. I really didn't like Kobe. I thought he was a nasty individual on the court. I thought he treated his teammates like crap. But so I'm not here to defend his legacy. What I am here to talk about is what she did, specifically Gayle King, in that interview that was really messed up, which lacked journalistic integrity, period. She led Lisa Leslie into that awkward point, and she could have just, stopped it when she asked the question and Lisa Leslie answered it. And that's my thing about Gayle King and why I'm extremely upset with her concerning that interview. Period.
I'm just going to catch up with some comments here. So Steph is saying Lisa Leslie has a personal responsibility for interviews she takes. She has the right to say no. She's a grown woman. Rico comes on and saying Gail was unprofessional, and unfortunately, Snoop's reckless and irresponsible comments have made her a victim of the narrative. So also too, Steph is saying so she didn't lead. She made an assumptive statement. Ryan is saying, what woman journalists ever asked that question, Dre? This is a new time. And Rico saying 100% Dre. Dre saying stop. She's Steph saying, oh, Dre is saying Steph, that's leading. And Dre is saying an assumption is leading. We have a square back. We have a spot back open on Get Vocal if anyone wants to jump back in. Dr. Tachi, anything you're wanting to add at this time?
Besides an unequivocal heavy sigh, I think that, again, that's what I would say. Did anybody not hear me say that that it could have been asked differently? It feels like, and I could be reading this wrong, but it feels like there are assumptions and things going on, and we're not really truly listening to what's being said and to what everybody's saying. That's the same thing that I just said, that that question of you wouldn't see it though could have been asked differently. That was a statement, like an assumption, but she could have said, well, some people may say, or whatever the case may be. Absolutely. That's what I just said. This is why, though, and I'm not saying this is what the intent in terms of what the intent was, but this is why sometimes women feel like they're not being listened to, because it feels like I just said the same thing. So take heed. Take heed. That's not saying that that's what the intent was, but just take heed.
But you saying because you're a woman wasn't listening to you? Like,
no. I'm saying some of those statements are exactly what I just said, but okay. It feels like it wasn't accepted for what that was, because there was such anger at. Say again, please.
It wasn't because you was a woman. We all love and respect you.
No, I know. No, but okay, Kinte, you do, and everybody else here does. But remember, just like we operate within a system of white supremacy, we also operate in a system of male supremacy too. And it may not be something you intend to do.
White male supremacy.
Yes.
Let's get that one clear.
Oh no, that's what I mean. So, right. but I mean that's what the system does, and it may not be anything you intend. So when women are saying these things, listen, because there's something to it, and you don't intend to do it necessarily. And I'm not saying you, Dre, intended to do that. You don't intend to do it necessarily, but because you operate in a system that does this, it's the same thing with us when we say things like, even though we've taken it now and made it something positive, nappy hair. That's not because we hate our hairness. In some cases it is. That's because we operate in a system that teaches you that. So I'm just making a point. Accept it
right now. That's why I got this on.
Oh, I'm nappy every day. I'm good. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry to come.
Go ahead, Frank.
There's something I also wanted to respond to. I think it was, and I think it was you, Dr. Tachi, who said that something to the effect that about Snoop Dogg and why is he the spokesperson? Was that you?
No. I said no. I did. I said Snoop Dogg, sit down and be quiet. Doctor.
You want to respond to that.
50 Cent. Go ahead.
You want to respond to that. Now we may not like what they say, but we have to give them an opportunity to say whatever they want to say, because that's reminiscent of how when Colin Kaepernick was taking that knee, when LeBron James was talking what he was saying about the president. You know, the white, a lot of the white media, particularly telling them sit down, shut up, and play ball. You know, we can't. And I don't agree with what they said. I don't. So let me say that. Say that. But when we say things like, you know, they need to sit down and shut up, we're telling them that, well, we think you're dumb. You don't have a voice, so you don't have a.
Oh no! You know what? I will say this. Let me rephrase that. Stay in your lane. This is the thing. I may have an opinion about so everybody has the right to have an opinion, but your right to an opinion ends as far as my safety is concerned. I'm going to tell you that. So I may have something to say about health, and I may want to tweet out, oh, well, you know, this is not true about this certain disease. Am I a doctor? No. Therefore, I know when it's my time to be quiet and let somebody else. The problem is, I think sometimes that we think we always have to say something and we always have to talk. Social media has put in our mind, the greatest thing about social media is that it gives everybody a platform. The worst thing about social media is that it gives everybody a platform. And simply because you have a platform does not mean you have to open your mouth and speak. And that's why I said that. It wasn't out of you don't deserve to speak. It's that it's not your time to speak and you are speaking out of turn.
But you got to realize, though, Snoop Dogg was personal friends with Kobe Bryant and his family. And also, this is something that goes along with what he does normally. Nobody told him that when he went in on Trump, when he went in on a lot of other people. So why is it now all of a sudden he has to shut up? This goes, when he went in on Ari Shaffir for what he said. And he was right, to what he said about it. My thing is, he didn't have to say the profanity aimed at Gail. That wasn't right. Like, I wouldn't do that to a sister, even the sisters I can't stand. I wouldn't do that. That's me personally.
See, you're right. And see, you have a level of respect. Sorry, go ahead, Dr. Vibe.
No problem.
Because I think that's putting something negative out. Like I have strong feelings about Oprah and Gail, right? But as a black man, I probably wouldn't say. I'm not gonna say what he said publicly. I would never do that. But like I said, Terry Crews, I'm gonna say worse. So what I'm saying, just using him as an example, we're gonna beat up on him a little bit today too.
So okay, so just a good pause here. We went through.
I just said that, Stephanie. I just said that was wrong. He shouldn't have said that.
Okay, let me just get in here. We covered basically the interview. The next step in the process was Oprah's reaction. No, not even Oprah. Let me go back. Did anyone see Gail's Instagram live?
Yeah,
I did. Yes.
Thoughts on her Instagram live?
You want me to go first?
Go ahead, Kinte. You have something to say.
I thought it was once again very similar to the Terry Crews apology. Boo hoo. So what? I honestly felt like blaming it on the network and all of that. That's crazy. I didn't know. It meant no. I don't see. I'm not going to split hairs about did they do this for this reason and that reason. The way I look at it is them. So I don't even, what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even going to sit there and do all that. I put certain people who are black in a certain category, and she's in that category. So she's one of the many black folks that are in that category. So I don't really care what she has to say, because there's nothing she's going to say anyway that's going to make me feel different at this point.
I can say that on Hustle Zone on Instagram, I had 36 comments, and they were all not by men, but by women. And they all said, one woman said, "You could have kept that out of your question. Respect the dead. You're wrong. Gail is not remorseful." A lot of people just didn't believe her response because she came on in an authoritative manner, like, you know what, I forget. I don't want to paraphrase for her, but it was just her demeanor, her response. She just seems, one of the comments that was made by one of the commenters was that people feel that Gail and Oprah are disconnected, and I agree with them. They are disconnected. They don't. And that's the other thing too. Like, just to talk about being a rapper myself, it's like, we talk about the content of the music. We don't like the music, and I understand that. But these are these young, like a lot of the young rappers, that's their expression, and we need to learn how to allow people to express themselves. Some of them are not educated. Some of them were put in those positions not being able to articulate themselves. We still need to give them a voice. We can't, just because they're not educated enough to word things in a proper format. it doesn't mean that they don't have a right to say something. The one thing that I'm starting to see is that rappers are starting to be more political. Whether it's Cardi B, whether it's Snoop Dogg, whether it's T.I., whether it's Ludacris, people, even though it may not be the most articulate thing that someone could say, they're at least expressing themselves. And obviously Snoop Dogg understood that, you know what, I was wrong. That's why he retracted his statement. But, you know, he's learning. He's in that position where he has influence and he's just using his expression. I'm not an apologist for him, but we just need to understand these guys are more connected with people than Gayle King is. She's out of touch.
Okay.
Jump in for a little second here.
She is 82.
Rico is saying,
she is 82. So
Rico is saying here, the same women bouncing to Snoop's misogynist lyrics now have a problem with him. Hashtag SMH. Happy Work Week is saying rappers are educated. Rico is saying just because Snoop has a cooking show with Martha Stewart, don't forget he's still Snoop Dogg. So Steph saying, you all worried about Gayle? T.I. is far more reckless with his misogyny and fake wokeness. D is saying, had she simply just took responsibility for the timing of the questioning plus specific apologies to Vanessa and Kobe's family, we may have accepted that. Blaming the network was a cop-out. Dre says, agreed. Anything we want to say more about Gayle's statement? And then we'll move on to the next part of the journey here. Anyone else want to?
I just got to keep reiterating. They all can go on a boat and we can watch them sink.
Okay, Kachi, do you want to say anything about Gayle's statement on Instagram Live?
Yeah, the statement on the Instagram Live, I did see it. Obviously, you know, that's damage control at that point. I think we could all agree that that's when you come on Instagram Live and when you come on social media and try to speak directly to the people, at that point, it's damage control, which, I mean, I can see and I can understand why. You did ask it, so blaming the network for it probably was not the best thing to do. It was said. I will say, though, that specific clip that they put up, people realize that that networks are in the business of ratings. That was probably the one that was going to get the most talk and the most ratings and the most everything. So that's what that was about. It's not that it wasn't said. In a way, it is kind of out of context because they're taking the most juicy, delicious part outside of everything else that was talked about and highlighting that. So I would say, I can say with unequivocal certainty, probably 85% of people did not go and watch the interview or did not read the transcript and only listen to that part. And this is what all the death threats and everything are about. And we have to start to be more critical when it comes to listening to media. Go and read the entire transcript. Listen and make the thing for yourself. Now, that's not to say anybody in here, because it seems like most people in here actually did either watch or listen to it and are making their own judgments off of it. And that's good and that's okay. And I think it's great that we have this discourse going about it. I just want us to be in the right frame of mind when we do things. And when you're being in the right frame of mind means being critical for it. And the whole thing is, when we talk about education, going back to Ryan's point, education does not necessarily mean book knowledge or learning or any of that. And I will say for Snoop Dogg, the man is in his 50s now. You are old damn enough to know how to articulate something so it does. You're a public figure. I don't care where you came from, whether you come from the street or whatever. You've had enough exposure at this point, and you should know enough not to do that, which is why he had to come after pressure, of course, too, came back and apologized. You know enough to know that it was wrong the way you said it. So let's not pretend that he doesn't know. That's all I have to say.
Well, I definitely agree that it's not a good look for him to do that, you know, in that way, because everything that you said that had a lot of merit and weight to it is lost, because then the only focus is on that part of it. So I think that he did himself a disservice by coming at it like that. And he, you know, and then also even though these are sisters that I can't stand, that does feed that narrative of negativity between black men and women, which they provide their part in it as well, and Snoop does as well with his statements. So what I'm saying though is, you know, I'm like, why are we defending any of these people? They're not with us. They're not with us. Let them go. Act like you ever see The Walking Dead?
Mm-hmm.
When you get bit by a zombie, you become a zombie. You can't save them no more. Let these coons go. Why are y'all defending any of them? They don't deserve our protection. They don't deserve, they do everything to to kick black progress down. Why are we defending these people? Like, seriously, the Gales, I can go down the list. Let's make a cool list and let's not none of them.
And I feel you.
The males can get it. We could do a whole show on coon males.
Oh God.
Maybe
Okay,
we will
that
do
makes you
that.
feel
Maybe
better.
we'll do that.
That'll
Kinte.
make you feel better. We can go. We'll leave the sisters alone for a week.
Wow, just a week. Well, but you know, and I feel you. Just really quickly, Dr. Vibe, I think for me it's more about the institution of journalism, and sometimes there's this unreasonably high, and this is not just saying with Gail or what, there's this unreasonably high standard that Black journalists have to meet. You're responsible to telling the truth and reporting the news, but then you're also trying to make sure that every community is put up and, you know, held up to the light. And that is a standard that most journalists are not held up to. But Black journalists, every move you make is scrutinized. So I'm just saying, my thing is in the institution of journalism, and I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that just because you're a Black journalist does not mean that you're not a journalist.
Okay.
Well, I love you, Tachi. You are my favorite journalist of all these journalists. But the other Negroes, you can have them. So if that makes me an evil, hateful person, then unfortunately I have to wear that badge.
Okay, I just want to jump in for a quick second here. First of all, Dre has left the conversation. So I'd like to say to Dre, thank you for helping leveling up the conversation. Next up, Rico is saying, I wonder what would have happened if Snoop had said that to Candace Owens. And for those who don't know who Candace Owens is, she's a very, very pro-Republican Black woman. He says, I personally don't think the same Black woman would be upset. Sometimes it's not what a person says, it's but who they say it to. True. This is unfortunate and extremely inconsistent. Ryan says Tachi is making great points because she is part of that institution.
Right.
Luke is saying, I don't understand and I'm staying out of it. All right, so we've got past the Snoop situation. We don't have to really comment, or unless someone wants to come out, Oprah Winfrey talking, crying and
right.
And it's going through a tough time. Unless anyone wants to say anything about that. Anyone have any comments on that?
Yeah, that sounds so phony. That she didn't. It's just something about her that's just so disingenuous. When she talks, I don't believe a word that comes out of her mouth. And when she was like, she's not doing well, I was like, oh, God. And then she says, Bill Cosby's texting from prison. I'm like, really? What is he, Jason Voorhees? He's going to escape. He's 82 years old, blind, and in prison. What is he going to do? He's going to be like the girl from The Ring. He's going to come through her cell phone. Stop it. You just go somewhere. Sorry.
I also want to add on Oprah's response, or their friend who were having a tough time. Anyone have anything to say before we move to another part of the journey?
I think it was unnecessary. I don't think it was necessary for her to comment on that at all. Sometimes, again, that also comes with knowing when to keep quiet.
Right.
Yeah.
We moved that was fast and furious right to the point. Then I think one of the most interesting parts of this whole journey, Susan Rice. Like, here's a lady who is like former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, who also served as a national security advisor under President Obama, took to Twitter last Friday night saying to Snoop Dogg, quote, Snoop, back the F off. You come for Gayle King, you come against an army. You will lose and it won't be pretty.
It's like, what are they about the rap battle?
Hit him up.
I think he's about to drop some bars, boy. When I saw that, I was like, okay, what is that? What is about to happen here? It's like, are they going to go and smack and do a rap battle or what? Oh my gosh.
Though I will, and I say I don't make a lot of commentary because I just like to manage a conversation. I would be very careful if I'm Snoop Dogg because Susan Rice has very powerful people that she's aligned with.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Like she's a former national security, so she isn't in government anymore, but I'm sure she got some powerful people around.
If we lose Snoop Dogg in this war, oh well.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, when I read those comments, I saw them when they came up on my feed. I was like, Lord have mercy. But I was like, oh no, bumbleclat. Hold on. But I took it back a little bit. But I read the comments, but people don't they look at her the same way they look at Gail and Oprah. They don't. A lot of the people that commented on her post, they're not scared. They're saying, you know what? You the problem too. Because a lot of people feel that, that Susan, lied a lot and there was a lot of other allegations that they had said in the comments. So, even though she's making those bold statements, it's not changing the fact of how people feel. It just feels like we're all like Black people. We're so dysfunctional and we're taking to the media and we're using social media for our therapy session, right? So I think everyone's angry and we need to just sit back and just allow people to talk and get their frustrations out, because it seems like past transgressions are, every time that there's something that's happening in the news, we are using our past transgressions as the platform to battle some of these people. But yeah, a lot of people don't support her statements,
right?
From what I read.
And I use Mediascope to get through my when I need to get through some stuff. So,
Lord,
that's my favorite show.
Here we go.
Hey,
look, this is the part where I'm gonna try to get my dance classes back on track.
Because you done messed up. Anyway,
does anyone want to add on to Susan Rice? Because I want to take
if I don't get him, I'm gonna be like, see what the Black man can get a dance class.
I do. So I think, again, this is another case of knowing when to keep quiet. Even if this is what she was feeling, I think everybody needs to stay in their lane. And it's not just Snoop Dogg and 50 Cent. It should be Cents. That bothers me every time, but it's not just him. I think it's also people making these types of say, don't continue the feud on Twitter and fuel the fire. If this is, here's the best thing. The better thing would have been to, if you could DM him some way and say, I don't think these statements are productive in terms of achieving an end. Can we do this some other way? I don't think challenging him to a breakdance battle was the way to do it. So, in terms of her statements, it's not that I necessarily, I know where the response came from, just like I know where the response came from for Snoop Dogg. That was his friend. He's in his feelings. It's emotional. So he took to Twitter like so many people do now and said something. All right, well, you're talking about her friend. She's in her feelings. I'm taking to Twitter and I'm going to continue. And I challenge you to a battle in Flatbush on Saturday. That's where it was going. But if everybody would just keep quiet,
right,
and be productive about the way they do that, and you know what? Leave Twitter out of it, damn it. Leave bloody Twitter out of it unless you're doing a DM. That's part of the problem, because now you have to get all swole. There's this whole ego thing now that is that's just the way social media is. It's fueling this ego of where, are you going to let her get the best of you or him get the best of you? So, this is another lesson in what to post and what not to post. So I think for her, she didn't need to take it there either.
Blame Trump.
Add to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kinte, it's interesting. One of the conversation topics you brought up, I think, needs to be looked at, and I think this is a perfect example of something I heard from another commentator. Is this an example of a Black class war? Because you have one level of Blacks, well-educated, doing well, on one side of the fence, and you have, I think, the people who are supporting Snoop Dogg, most of them are from a different class or a different level. Is this not only maybe a Black woman, Black man thing, but a Black class divide?
I do think so, to a certain degree, for sure. I think a lot of it is, there's people who are in that echelon, and there's people that want to be in that echelon. They're not really in that echelon, but it's like, I'm gonna act like I've already hit the lottery, even though I ain't won nothing yet. So you have some of that, and there's this thing where we feel like there's people who are on the other side of the fence, and they're not doing anything to bring us over on the other side. So a lot of that happens too. Somebody says Twitter is Rico says Twitter is so toxic. I mean, I like Twitter a lot, so I have no problem with it. And but I'm an anarchist, so I like the BS sometimes. But I don't like when Black people are shooting at each other. That's what I don't like. Especially, I feel like sometimes it's very non-productive for our community when that happens. But yeah, I do feel like there is a kind of a class thing at times. Michael, what's up, Michael? Mike Williams is in the chat.
No, I'm gonna shout out what he has to share after you're done.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, so Michael's saying, in my short time in this, I've learned there's a list of cultural rules that we should never break. 1, respect your elders. 2, stay out of grown folks' business. 3, do not speak ill of the dead. Now, if your britches are big enough for you to break any of those cultural rules, then you and you alone must be prepared to deal with the hellfire and brimstone. That's the result of that. She knew better. Talking about Gayle King, she knew better.
Right. I remember I saw an interview with was it Tommy Davis? I can't remember. And they were talking about how they turned down roles. I can't remember who it was, if it was Tommy Davidson or some other Black actor, and how they would turn down certain roles because they felt like they couldn't go to the Black barbershop anymore if they did it. You know what I mean? Like they were conscious of that. Like, if I did this movie, although they're offering me like a bunch of money, man, I could never go back in the barbershop. You know what I'm saying? Like, they really felt that. Like, they wanted to be able to be in their community and not have to have their head held there. And I think I like that mentality. Like, and I understand sometimes you need that mortgage paid and you got to make decisions that are not necessarily in line with your belief system. But, if you can use that as a rule of thumb, is like, you know what? They say in dominoes, all money ain't good money, So sometimes you got to turn down certain things that don't align with your belief system, or at least you want to be able to go to that barbershop in the hood,
I think,
but it's so subjective. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. I just think that the Black agenda is so subjective. Everybody has their own definition of what the end goal is, and there are so many, because we're so diverse and we have so many different groups of people. It's really hard to come to find some sort of consensus on what we should take, because we all have to, at the end of the day, we all have to feed our families. We all need jobs. Unfortunately, the majority class rules everything, and we have to operate in this system. When it comes to, I guess my final point would be, I think you had said, I lost my point, but either way, like, I just think, oh no, when it comes to like this conversation between classism amongst Black people, I don't, I believe that there's a class struggle, but at the same time, this is the first time in history where different groups of people are coming together and having a dialogue. Because before Twitter, all we had was the television to tell us what we needed to do. And we could talk to the television. The television wouldn't talk back to us. Now we're having the conversation, and unfortunately, we're just seeing the levels of education, the levels of understanding. We're seeing the spectrum of individuals in the same conversations. And hopefully one day it will level out where there's meaningful conversations. But we're still dealing with trauma that we still need to deal with. And unfortunately, we're using social media to get that all out. So I do think that the conversations will level out over time.
If I may, I'm looking at Rico's comment about it not being a Black class divide, but a Black consciousness divide. And I actually think it's both. I think, though, that consciousness, or Black consciousness, is often tied to class. So there's a relationship or a correlation, not in all cases, but sometimes I think there's a correlation. And I think there is, Lawrence Otis Graham is an author who wrote the book, Our Kind of People. And it's an examination of the Black upper class in America. And I actually had the opportunity to interview him for an article that I was writing. Yeah, no, amazing guy. So when you read the book, it actually gives an explanation of the organizations and the ideas and the values that the, quote, Black upper middle and upper class, whatever that means, hold dear. And I don't think, the Black bourgeoisie, exactly. I don't think that, I think sometimes we forget that you operate in different spaces, even though really you don't operate to the masses, you don't operate. But once you become there, you begin to operate in different spaces and with a different way of thinking. So that consciousness, that awareness is different. You start to value different things. There's also a play, I can't remember, but it was about during Jim Crow in the South, I think it was in Alabama, a play about, the civil rights movement is starting to burgeon and happen. And all this one woman is concerned with is the debutante cotillion that they're having. That's a perfect example of the division in consciousness. And that's why I'm saying sometimes it's directly tied to class, not in all cases. But I think that's something that we have to look at and have to examine. There's a different way of thinking. And I think there's an expectation of thinking differently. So even if these are the people that went to the Clark Atlantas, that went to the Tuskegees, they want their children to go to Yale. They want their children to go to USC because they want them to, quote, be better than they are. So there's that line of thinking there that needs to change before we can solve any of this.
Amen. Amen.
Let's have any comments? Rico also says before Twitter we had.
Wow, I would like to read that article. By the way,
they had dinner tables.
I would like to read that article.
I'll send it.
Yeah, I'd like to get that. Ryan is saying Gail is pandering to her folks. Snoop is pandering to his folks. There you go. There you go. Mm-hmm. Any final comments before we call it another epic conversation?
No, I think
actually I'll ask you. No, you know what? I'm going to ask each one of you for closing comments. So, first things first, in the lieu of the anything Dr. Vibe does, if there's ladies involved, ladies first. Closing comments by Dr. Tachi, and where can we reach you?
Wow. Well, I didn't mean to usurp this much time of the conversation.
Wow.
I just came on to, grab a little space, and thank you for having me in this space
Always a
today.
pleasure.
Always.
I think this is a bigger issue, and Kinte was alluding to this. This is a bigger issue than Gayle King, than Oprah Winfrey, than Harvey Weinstein, than Kobe Bryant. This is a bigger issue. This is just one small part of it. And I hope we start to realize the patterns that we continuously go through so that we don't keep repeating them, because I think we keep repeating these patterns. I want us to also realize that Black people are not a monolith. And even though, yes, we should all be about the empowerment and upliftment of the community, the reality is that because we're not a monolith, not everyone is right there with us. So even if they should, they're not. So I think it's about figuring out how to navigate the spaces, even with that being the reality. So you can reach me. Dr. Vibe will get me if I don't tell you about Mediascope. So I am the host of Mediascope, which is a show all about media, tech, and pop culture. We do not do politics, which is why I get on here and spill stuff about politics. You could find us every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Periscope, Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live, and WJMSradio.com. I also do a pre-show at 5 on Instagram Live. I also host And We're Live, which is a show where we teach all about using video and live streaming for your business and beyond. And I do that with my producer from Mediascope, MC Curtis. And that is on all the platforms I mentioned above, plus YouTube Live Thursdays at 2 p.m. Reach me on Twitter at Tachiata.
And she's the best dance teacher ever.
Lord.
She's my dance teacher. We're going to be getting this thing started pretty soon. I can't wait. I'm going to have to go to Miami. And
Yes.
so I'm going to fly in.
Kinte's cuddling like Snoop.
Yeah,
I promise.
My dance classes.
I promise if you're out here, or I'm out there, I will give you a dance lesson.
And don't laugh at me though. Don't laugh at me when you like show me what you got already. I'm gonna be like, I don't want to show you that.
But Tachi, certainly video it, okay? Make sure you video it for everybody.
I will sue you, okay? It will be death.
But Tachi, you're also TV channeling too, right?
Yes, I'm sorry. So I also have a podcast with my good friend Kevin out in LA. It's called TV Channeling. We do TV reviews, and we also do TV, film, and entertainment news with great commentary. The show is hilarious, if I do say so myself. We're on every major podcasting platform, in addition to WJMSradio.com, Tuesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, drive time.
Nice. Ryan, closing comments, and where can people contact you? I don't like the word connect.
Okay, well, closing comments. It's day 40 in my positive journey, not engaging in too much political conversations on Facebook. But you know what, I'm at my Zen moment, because I kind of went past the the anxiety of not being able to respond to a lot of these current events that pop up. But what I would say is that silence is timeless. And, because I often see on social media that people just tend to react because they see the trend of other people reacting. It's a form of social proof. And through the last 40 days, because we had Australia, we had Gayle King, we had R. Kelly, we had a lot of things come and go. And when you stay back and not comment, you see that people kind of switch they kind of transition their negative energy to new things that pop up on the Twitter feed. So sometimes I think that in our community, we just need to, we need not to be so reactionary to everything that pops up. Sometimes we just need to take the time to just evaluate, understand the facts, and then comment, because it destroys a lot of people. People fight for no reason, because sometimes things what I'm starting to see is that things come out after we fought, and then brings more context to the story. So silence is timeless, and you can reach me at Hustle Zone. Like if you go on to Instagram at Hustle Zone or Hustle Zone TV, we are a Black media company, and that's black like blickety black. We are black. We're
Black,
we are black content, and we've been transitioning over to that. You can catch our first podcast, Go Live and Prosper, on all the major podcasting platforms. And and there'll be more content and more podcasts coming out in the next little while. So thank you guys all
Thank you,
for
Ryan.
having me on.
Yeah, pleasure.
Well, you can get me at Kinte F on Twitter, that wonderful place, and you can get me at Kinte Fergerson on Instagram, and of course the website is indyradio.org, indyradio.org. Tomorrow you're gonna get a double dose of Kinte.
Yeah, we got double. Yeah,
double dose of
tell them,
Kinte
boss.
at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, which is 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll be on early. We're going to do a special episode of Men and Women Talk to Mars Venus show, where we're going to be talking about the placeholder boyfriend / girlfriend. And if you're wondering what that is, you got to find out what we're going to be talking about. It's going to be great. I think all of us will be able to relate to that topic. And then following that at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern, me and Dr. Vibe have a great show. And it's an all-male panel. And it's going to be, and we got heavyweights on this panel. It's going to be, the topic is, does Christianity interfere with Black empowerment? And it's going to be the part one of the conversation.
I love Ryan's face sort of just dropped when he said
yeah, it's going to be dope. And then look, check this out. The next week we have the ladies, and we have heavyweights there with LA, Tachi,
Dr. Tachi,
and Angie's going to be on that one. But tomorrow, though, those are going to be the two shows that we're going to do tomorrow. I'm so excited. And Wednesday, I'm going to be on again because I'm going to have Dwayne Hendricks. I can't believe I can think of his last name. And we're going to talk about the Wayne Williams Atlanta child murders update about that, as well as we're going to talk about the Kobe Bryant death, but in a different way. It's going to be very different. So stay tuned. It ain't going to be nothing about Gail or anything like that. So I'm not going to say, y'all going to be like, what? It's going to be, y'all going to be like, what the hell are y'all talking about? So I'm not going to say what is going to be going, but you'll be entertained, I'm pretty sure. So with all that said, thank you. And then Dr. Vibe.
Well, first things first, I'd like to thank everyone who caught some of this conversation live. I'm going to do a roll call. I got Luke, Rico, happy work week. Whenever you come on, it's especially a good thing. We don't see enough of you anymore. There's Maya and Maya. Sorry, we had Michael. I'm just going through quickly here some of the names. I know Dre was on. I know Anthony was on. So Steph. D was part of the epic conversation. Let's see if I got anyone else. Just scrolling real quick. Bobby was on for a little bit. Leah was on for a bit. Leah in I can't remember what country. Over there in Europe. Montenegro. Yes, Montenegro. And then on the YouTube side, we had You Foresight for You Too. We had Divine Right, aka Serena Wills, and The Inspired Thought. If I forgot you, it was because of my head, not my heart. Please note that. Hoping that everyone enjoyed the conversation night. Yeah, Kinte and I are going to be back tomorrow night. Well, he's got some stuff going on before, but definitely that conversation. I don't know if Kinte, you have the link quick. If you could put it in the chat. I don't know if you got it, but definitely that's going to be another epic conversation. I have, and later on, we're broadcasting live on February 9th. I've got a few conversations coming up this week, but one big one on February 13th at 9 p.m. How many people remember the movie Dark Girls?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, when it originally came out, it premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival, and I had 2 amazing days with the producers of that film, Bill Duke and Dee Chansonberry. Well, Dark Girls 2 is coming out, and this time it's just being produced by Dee Chansonberry. I have him live coming up this Thursday evening at 9 p.m.
Mm.
Dark Girls 2. We're going to have him on. And the other conversation I have coming on this month, I have a gentleman named Kenneth Braswell coming up on February 19th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. He is the gentleman who is the founder of Fathers Incorporated, which has been around for about 20 years. They help Black dads. And right now, they're doing a campaign called Black Dads Count. And their goal is to get 2,000 Black fathers in America registered for them to vote in the next election.
All right.
So they are doing that. Thanks, everybody. It's really good. There's seen some people who have not been around or on for a while, like Rico. Happy work week. And Michael, great to see you all. As always, I will end off the conversation like I do all of them. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream and you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions. Aim bigger. Aim better. Aim higher. Aim wider. If you want to check out anything I do, just go to the website, drvibeshow.com. All my social media information, where you can catch all my conversations. And now, because I've become a friend in the Indigenous community, they always like to say Mase Cho. And Mase Cho in the Indigenous community means thank you. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith and good night.